Brought to you by Penguin.
Craftland, a journey through Britain's lost arts and vanishing trades, written and read by me, James Fox. In memory of Hugo Burge. Introduction. The stone carver was the first to tell me about it. She agreed to speak to the bookbinder, who spoke to the gamekeeper, who spoke to the landlord, who gave the key to his sister, who drove all the way to the Scottish borders to hand it, somewhat apprehensively, to me. It was a late April morning, the first spring-like day of the year. The Cheviot hills were white with frost, but the roadside shone with daffodils, and the trees glistened green. I walked through the small Berwickshire village under a shower of birdsong, stepping on shadows of fallen leaves and dodging puddles that hadn't cleared since autumn. Halfway down the high street, between an old schoolhouse that had long ceased taking pupils and a cast-iron hand pump that no longer drew water, there stood a ramshackle stone building with steep gables and diamond-pane windows. I'd been waiting more than a year to get inside it. The door was low and wide, its painted surfaces peeling green over red over blue. I slid the heavy, handmade key into the keyhole, turned the lock, then pushed across the threshold into a darkness that stank of engine oil. As my eyes adjusted to the gloom, the contours of a workshop sharpened into view. There were tools everywhere, lined up on workbenches, crammed into cupboards, spilling out of drawers, all of them browned with rust and blackened by soot. I saw vices, lathes, pillar drills, sharpening stones, cutting wedges, lead-pouring ladles, and countless other instruments whose names I didn't know and whose purposes I couldn't fathom. I advanced deeper into the workshop, ducking cobwebs as I went, passing an anvil dabbed with dusty fingerprints and a cone mandrel that rose from the floor like a ziggurat. At the back of the room lay a stone forge hung with chisels and tongs, and next to it a crude wooden lever on which someone had written, "Do not tamper with this rock stuff. This is most important." I looked around, then grasped the lever, sliding my palm into a smooth depression formed by many hands before mine. As I pumped the rock staff up and down, an old bellows came to life, wheezing like a large animal woken from a deep sleep. As the bellows contracted, so, in a sense, did time. The whole workshop, despite its sorry state, seemed trapped in suspended animation, as if its owner had just left the building and would be returning any moment. A leather apron hung by the door, and a half-smoked cigarette waited on the workbench. But as I examined my surroundings more closely, I began to realize quite how long this place had been abandoned. I found a Victorian poster advertising ox-driven ploughs, a pile of pre-war shillings on the window ledge, and a scrap of yellow newspaper reporting a local man's arrest for drunkenly crashing his horse and cart. I circled back to the workbench. The cigarette was a range of wild woodbine that I later learned hadn't been manufactured since the 1960s. From the moment it opened, at the beginning of the 19th century, this little building was the crucible of its community, home to a trade that made every other trade possible. It was the village smithy, the place people came to get their tools forged, wagons fixed, and horses shoed. For 150 years, one busy blacksmith succeeded another here, as surely as night followed day. But as cars displaced horses, shops replaced workshops, and the local population shriveled and changed, the demand for their services fell away. The last blacksmith of the village had tried to move with the times, moonlighting briefly as a mechanic and handyman, but he must have known his time had passed. One day,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?